Hey, so we're back with Poland Daily Travel. We're here in Warsaw's Old Town, and boy, things are hopping. There's a lot of people around today, and it's a nice afternoon on a Friday in May. Yes, I'm dating this program. It is a Friday in May, but you can tell it's pretty warm anyway, so we're not wearing parkas or anything. What is this? This is this UNESCO. What does UNESCO have to do with Warsaw's Old Town?
Plenty.
Okay.
Plenty.
All right.
The main thing in the Old Town, as we are underlining it quite a few times in our conversations, is the reconstruction. So in this case, UNESCO has appreciated that value. Why is it the main thing? How much work is it? This is something that this notice can, in some way, can explain it.
Yeah, because we've got obviously a photograph of destruction here. And who's this walking through?
So, the gentleman in bright trousers, this is Mr. General Dwight David Eisenhower.
Okay, so he visited Warsaw after the war, yeah.
Not only did he visit Warsaw, he has also visited Berlin and Dresden.
Okay.
These two cities were very badly damaged by the Alliance forces, mainly because of avenging, not because of the fact that it was a this was a necessity. The key thing is that Mr. Dwight, once he's visited Berlin and
Mr.
Dresden,
Eisenhower, yeah. General Eisenhower.
so General Eisenhower.
President Eisenhower.
Later on.
Later on, yeah.
So once he's visiting Berlin and Dresden, he would say that he's not expecting to see, to witness any other example of such destruction scale. And then he's visiting Warsaw, as the photograph shows, it's not in the best state.
Yeah, we talked about this earlier. We had in a previous episode a picture showing this devastation. It looks like an old honeycomb or something, doesn't it?
Yes.
You know, sort of dilapidated honeycomb. In other words, totally bald. But it says here, Warsaw was deliberately annihilated in 1944 by the German occupation. 85% was destroyed. And
Which this picture would say that is more than 85, in an opinion of an average person.
In this area, yeah.
In this area. And if it comes to the reconstruction, because Mr. Dwight, once he's arrived, we have the very same football team.
So that rugby team.
Following us.
That rugby team.
The rugby team. Yeah.
The Italians, they're singing.
This is why they are not very silent. All right. But that's another case.
It's okay. Let them have fun.
Mr. Dwight, once he's arrived, he would see what Warsaw is.
Yeah.
And then he's returning to the U.S. He becomes the president, as we have underlined.
Right.
And then with this range of power, he puts an additional pressure on the board of the Marshall's Plan.
Okay.
So to have an additional loan devoted to the city of Warsaw. And then there is a trick in here. The time that this is all happening is the time that Poland is under the times of communism.
Right.
So the question right now that you may have towards your guide is, but was the government of Poland, the communist government, allowing this support from the US while this is the Cold War? Right? This is the moment that the East fights the West. They are not cooperative.
Yeah.
So the key thing is that Mr. Eisenhower, I mean President Eisenhower,
or General Eisenhower.
Or General.
I don't think we can call him Mr.
I'm sorry. This is more of a habit of mine.
Yeah, that's right. Well, it's very pleasant of you.
Well, storytelling. And yet again, we have our gentlemen.
Oh, there they are. Yeah, Italians, they're always singing about love. Good for the Italians.
It seems
amore, amore.
They have already won the competition.
I have a fear that they're going to drink too much beer to be any good in the competition. But that's part of the rugby anyway.
We have good beer in Poland.
Yeah, and they're not professionals, so I just hope nobody gets annihilated on the pitch. At any rate, okay, it also says that it's great, the atmosphere anyway. The Constitution of the 3rd of May, 1791 was the first democratic European constitution. And it's worth emphasizing again that that's true, because not a lot of people know that the first constitution in Europe was a Polish constitution.
In Poland, yeah.
But you know, this was following the American example, and of course the Poles were very You know, the Poles were so involved, Kosciuszko
Yeah.
and Pulawski, or
Pulawski, yeah.
Pulaski in American, and the American
I'm still
pronunciation.
admiring you for all the time, for all the efforts,
Yeah,
really.
don't admire me, because my Polish
surnames are extremely difficult.
Yeah, it's not true. I'm terrible at it. But I can't remember. Never mind.
Chemukowski.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, we'll get it.
I'll never get it. But no, you should have seen me yesterday trying to say a Japanese name in the studio. It was terrible. It took me forever. Everything else was fine, but it took me. Yeah, you do believe me, because you know I'm tongue-tied. But with some of these names. But anyway, Eisenhower coming here is paying a tribute to that.
In some way, he does.
To that help of the Poles
But
in the American Revolution.
the
You know,
massive-
he must have known about that. For sure.
Well,
He's a military historian as well.
this is one thing.
Went to West Point.
Secondly, he's very, very much aware of what the war brings.
Of
He's
course.
seen everything if
Yeah.
it comes to war Europe destruction, and he
Yeah.
knows what kind of an effort it is to
Yeah.
rebuild, especially that Poland is not the winning side of the war.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
thanks
what
to
do we
Mr.
got over here?
Eisenhower, we are going to have this. Another nice picture. If you're interested, you can take a look at the Old Towns Market Square. So
Yeah.
basically, this is the Old Towns Market Square that we've seen previously. This is where we are standing in
Yes.
this photograph.
Okay.
And once this is seen by General Eisenhower, he comes back to the U.S. He's putting a pressure on the Marshall's Plan so to have an additional loan sent. This is crucial.
Right.
And the government allows it. So this is a bit of a miracle, because in this all heavy situation, the political situation is not easy either.
Right.
We receive a proper support from the West.
Yes.
This is unique.
So you had, in other words, you're saying that the West was able to still give aid, even though it was under Poland was under Russian domination at that
Yes.
time,
Yes,
or
well.
Soviet domination, we can say. Yeah.
And very, very important
more
thing
rightful.
for me to underline: it's not
Yeah.
the whole country
Yeah.
that has been that has been included in the plan, the Marshall's Plan. It's only Warsaw, directly one city,
Okay.
because this city has received the majority of all the damage. The infrastructure is already gone.
I mean, when you look at the example of Warsaw, there's an ancient, in World War II, there's an ancient example, the example of Carthage, which the Romans destroyed and then sowed with salt.
Yeah.
And I wonder if that had occurred to the Nazi. I haven't ever read that it occurred to them, but I wouldn't be surprised if they were trying to do the same thing.
I wouldn't be surprised
But how
either.
interesting that they would have thought of Poland as their Carthage, as an ultimate enemy, which seems so ridiculous. You know,
Because
on the face of it.
It should seem ridiculous, because
Yeah.
after all, right now with European Union and coming Europe as a whole, this kind of thinking is a bit out of date.
Well, it was never productive, was it? Poland Daily Travel. Stick with us. We'll be right back.
Warsaw's Old Town. In 1945, it lay in ruins, 90% destroyed. In 1980, its reconstruction was completed. It was completed to such precise dimensions that years later, UNESCO made it an international landmark. In fact, the reconstruction was handled with such spectacular precision that it almost defies the imagination. It's a testament not only to good fortune, but to those who managed to save the architectural drawings and plans for the old city. When you visit Warsaw's Old Town, you are visiting the only place like it in the world, a completely reconstructed, painstakingly. In this sense, you might say it's even more Disneyland than Disneyland. It is simply a marvel. In this series of episodes, we'll be taking you to the Warsaw City Museum, and we'll be walking around the old town and the market square and hitting the highlights. We hope you'll get some sense of the old town's history and its present-day life. Come with us for a walk through living history in Warsaw's fantastic old town.
So what? Okay, so that's Eisenhower. That's the UNESCO.
And the value, the main one, that every visitor is coming to the old town to have the proper opinion made whether we've done a good job with reconstructioning. So as the old town is rebuilt in scale, 1:1, with
Yeah.
how it was before the destruction, UNESCO, with this stone tablet, informs us that we have done a good job.
Okay.
They are taking the old town of Warsaw to the list of international
Even though
heritage.
it's a reconstruction.
mainly and only based on that value. It's
Right.
not the biggest.
Yeah.
It's not the most beautiful, or I don't know, the most spacious or whatsoever.
In Europe. Yeah.
In Europe or
Yeah.
around the world.
Right.
It is the reconstructed spot of the city, scale
Right.
1-to-1, and it has taken 35 years. It's written that 1980 September is the finishing date.
And it started immediately after the war?
Immediately
At least
after
the clearing
war.
of the rubbish and things like that?
We did not clear, we've built on top.
You just built on top of it, smoothed it out and built on top of it?
Yes,
Yeah.
Will. And because of this 35-year lasting work, every
Wow.
day, and very important, we've not paid, Skanska, Strabag, or any developing company. My grandfather has received a ticket with a information about accommodation,
Right.
with food portions,
Right.
and he would be coming here, giving
He was
his
working here?
hands and
Yeah.
his back.
He was working here?
He was working here.
Yeah.
Every citizen in Poland was having his shift to make on rebuilding the pride of Poland, which is the capital city.
That is amazing. I
This
did
is
not
why
know that.
the
Yeah.
UNESCO gives the tablet and takes Warsaw as a World Heritage Value. 35 long years of our hard work has been appreciated in this way.
Poland Daily Travel. We're in Warsaw's beautiful old town, the Disneyland of UNESCO, if you will. Totally reconstructed in this fabulous fashion. It's a real miracle of architecture, engineering, and blood, sweat, and tears, to use Churchill's phrase. What an amazing place. Stick with us. Poland Daily Travel. We have further adventures in store.
Well, let's go and see the castle.
Yeah, let's go see the castle.